We're counting down the 25 most unforgettable homely Southern dishes that once filled family tables and church buffets across Dixie. From quirky gelatin molds and sweet salty casseroles to vintage cafeteria salads and kitchen sink cakes, these entries combine nostalgia, practicality, and a dash of corporate invention from the 1960s and 70s. Which long-lost favorite will claim the top spot in Southern comfort food memory? Let's begin our journey with number 25. Lime congealed salad set the standard for Southern gelatin creations. In the 1960s and 70s, no church buffet or family reunion was complete without a bright green ring glistening on a bed of iceberg lettuce. The recipe was simple: lime-flavored Jell-O, canned pineapple, cottage cheese, and sometimes chopped nuts, all mixed and poured into a classic ring mold. Community and junior league cookbooks spread these formulas across the South, while box-back recipes from Kraft and Jell-O offered endless variations. The finished salad jiggled with pride at every potluck table, a wobbly crown of sweetness and thrift. For many, the sight of that lime green mold brings back memories of Tupperware bowls, folding tables, and a time when a salad could be sweet, savory, and just a little bit strange, all at once. Tomato aspic brought a touch of ceremony to Southern luncheons in the 1960s. Clear and jewel red, this dish set tomato juice or soup with unflavored gelatin, then poured it into a ring or dome mold. The aspic would chill until firm, ready to be sliced and served cold. For bridal showers and Sunday gatherings, a rosette of mayonnaise or a swirl of cream cheese was the classic garnish, adding richness to each tangy bite. Cookbooks and party menus of the era often suggested tomato aspic as the centerpiece, surrounded by crisp lettuce or cucumber slices. While lime and fruit molds leaned sweet, tomato aspic stood out for its savory, almost elegant profile. A dish that signaled hospitality and a flair for entertaining, even if its popularity has faded to fond memory. The arrival of 7-Up salad brought a fizzy twist to the Southern potluck table. In church cookbooks from the 1960s and 70s, this dish popped up as a playful newcomer: lime or lemon gelatin whisked with 7-Up, then blended with cream cheese or even a spoonful of mayonnaise. The carbonation gave the salad an airy texture, making it lighter and bubblier than its Jell-O cousins. Slices of canned pineapple or cherries often floated inside, creating a sparkling pastel ring beside the ham or fried chicken. Soft drink companies leaned into the trend, printing recipes on pamphlets and sponsoring bake-off contests. For a brief spell, 7-Up salad was the star of summer suppers and Sunday spreads, a cross-promotion between soda aisles and salad bowls that captured the South's taste for novelty and fun, one wobbly, sweet bite at a time. Seafoam salad brought a pastel pop to Southern cafeteria lines and Sunday potlucks. Its signature color, an almost glowing green, came from lime gelatin, which blended with softened cream cheese and canned pears for a sweet, tangy bite. Poured into a ring mold and chilled until firm, the salad was unmolded onto crisp lettuce leaves, ready to catch the eye next to fried chicken or ham. Cafeterias like K&W made seafoam salad a menu staple, counting on its gentle sweetness and creamy texture to please regulars. The dish's color wasn't just a visual trick, it signaled freshness and fun. At a time when food psychology linked bright greens to appetite and cheer. Today, seafoam salad is mostly a memory, but for those who remember, it's a taste of cafeteria comfort, soft, sweet, and unmistakably Southern. Coca-Cola congealed salad stood out as one of the South's quirkiest crowd pleasers. The recipe called for Coca-Cola as the main liquid, blended with cherry gelatin, canned pineapple, and a handful of chopped pecans. Sometimes canned cherries joined the mix, adding even more color and sweetness. Church and community cookbooks from the 1960s and 70s regularly featured this soda-based salad, promising both novelty and thrift for potlucks and reunions. The finished mold, glossy and dark, balanced the caramel tang of cola with the crunch of pecans and the syrupy fruit. At a time when soft drinks were everywhere, Coca-Cola salad turned a bottle of soda into a wobbly, celebratory centerpiece. Today, it's mostly a retro curiosity, fondly remembered by those who recall the era when anything, even a salad, could start with a can of Coke. Pear salad arrived on Southern dinner tables as a simple but unmistakably formal starter. Canned pear halves, chilled and glossy, were carefully placed on crisp iceberg lettuce leaves. Each pear was crowned with a dollop of mayonnaise and a generous snowfall of grated cheddar cheese. In the etiquette guides and menu cards of the 1960s, this dish was considered proper company fare, cool, sweet, and just a little bit savory. The ritual was as much about presentation as flavor. The salad plate, ice cold, would arrive before the main course, signaling hospitality and attention to detail. Pear salad was a fixture at Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, and potlucks, earning a place in countless junior league and church cookbooks. Though rarely seen today, the memory of that tangy, creamy bite lingers for those who remember the icebox era of Southern hospitality. Ambrosia brought a burst of brightness to Southern holiday tables, especially at Christmas and Easter. The earliest versions were simple, just fresh orange segments and grated coconut, sometimes sprinkled with a little sugar. In the 1960s and 70s, canned pineapple and maraschino cherries joined the bowl, reflecting the era's love of convenience and color. By the time community cookbooks started calling for mini marshmallows, ambrosia had moved from a winter fruit salad to a sweet, creamy side dish that blurred the line between salad and dessert. Families served it in cut glass bowls, passing it alongside ham or turkey at Sunday dinners. For many, ambrosia is a taste of togetherness, each spoonful a reminder of shared stories, laughter, and the gentle glow of holiday lights. Even now, it lingers in family traditions, a simple classic that still feels like celebration. Strawberry pretzel salad brought a new kind of excitement to Southern holiday tables, a dish that looked like dessert but was proudly called a salad. The secret was in the layers, a salty, buttery pretzel crust pressed into the pan, topped with a sweetened cream cheese filling, and finished with a glossy layer of strawberry gelatin set with sliced berries. Each bite delivered a crisp snap from the pretzels, creamy tang from the middle, and a cool, fruity finish on top. This sweet-salty combination fit right in at Christmas, Easter, and church potlucks across the South and Midwest. Community cookbooks from the 1970s gave it pride of place, and many families still recall the thrill of seeing those neat, jewel-red squares on the serving tray. It's a memory of gatherings where the line between salad and dessert was deliciously blurred. Watergate salad burst onto Southern tables in the wake of Jell-O's instant pistachio pudding launch in 1975. Suddenly, every community cookbook and newspaper food column seemed to feature this pastel green concoction: pistachio pudding stirred with Cool Whip, crushed pineapple, and a handful of mini marshmallows. The name added a dash of intrigue, but it was the convenience that made it a star. Busy home cooks clipped the recipe from syndicated columns or found it on the back of pudding boxes, ready to whip up for church suppers and family holidays. Watergate salad's sweet, nutty fluff became a staple at Easter and Christmas, nestled beside ham and deviled eggs. Though its moment in the spotlight was brief, the salad's blend of product launch buzz and community tradition made it a true icon of the pudding mix era. Pineapple cheese casserole made its name as the sweet, savory outlier on Southern Easter tables. The recipe called for canned pineapple tidbits, sharp cheddar cheese, and a generous layer of crushed Ritz crackers mixed with melted butter. Baked until bubbly, the casserole offered a surprising blend of tart fruit, salty cheese, and buttery crunch, an odd pairing that somehow worked, especially alongside ham or roast chicken. Church and junior league cookbooks from the 1960s and 70s featured this dish as a must-have for holiday luncheons and potlucks, where it sat proudly among more familiar sides. The casserole's appeal was rooted in its thrift and shelf-stable ingredients, but its true staying power came from the way it confounded expectations. one bite delivering both comfort and a little culinary mischief. Today, it's mostly a retro curiosity, but for many, the memory of that golden, bubbling pan still brings a smile. Copper pennies brought a bright splash of color and tang to Southern refrigerators throughout the 1960s and 70s. This dish started with simple carrot coins, sliced and blanched until just tender, then layered with chopped bell pepper and onion. The real magic came from the marinade, a sweet and sour dressing made with canned tomato soup, vinegar, sugar, and a pinch of dry mustard. Poured over the vegetables while still warm, the mixture soaked in overnight, infusing every bite with a punchy, almost pickled flavor. Copper pennies were designed for convenience and longevity, meant to be stored in Tupperware and served straight from the fridge for days. Church cookbooks and home economics classes praised the recipe's thrift and adaptability, especially as a make-ahead side for potlucks or holiday spreads. In an era when condensed soup vinaigrettes ruled the salad scene, copper pennies stood out for their bright taste and ability to feed a crowd, one cold, glossy spoonful at a time. Carrot raisin salad became a fixture on Southern cafeteria trays and lunch counter menus from the 1960s through the early 1980s. The formula was straightforward: freshly shredded carrots, plump raisins, and a creamy dressing made from mayonnaise and a touch of sugar. Served chilled, the salad offered a sweet crunch that balanced out heavier mains like fried chicken or meatloaf. Cafeterias such as Piccadilly and K&W made it a staple, counting on its bright color and mild flavor to appeal to both children and adults. The salad's popularity was built on its simplicity: no cooking required, just a quick toss and a chill in the fridge. When cafeteria chains began dropping carrot raisin salad in the late 1980s, regulars wrote in asking for the recipe, unwilling to let go of that familiar taste. Today, it lingers as a symbol of cafeteria comfort, instantly recognizable but rarely spotted outside nostalgic roundups or vintage cookbooks. Shrimp mold swept into Southern party culture with a flair that was impossible to ignore. In the 1970s, every bridal shower and holiday open house seemed to feature a glossy, seafood-studded centerpiece, often shaped like a fish or a festive ring. The recipe called for chopped shrimp, softened cream cheese, and a can of tomato soup, all bound together with unflavored gelatin. Once chilled and unmolded, the pale pink creation was surrounded by crackers or celery sticks, ready for guests to scoop and spread. Hostesses prized shrimp mold for its showmanship as much as its flavor. The more elaborate the shape, the more impressed the crowd. Community and junior league cookbooks gave detailed instructions for unmolding without disaster, and some even included tips for decorating with parsley or olives. While the taste was mild and creamy, the real appeal lay in its spectacle: a dish that turned a simple can of soup and a handful of shrimp into the star of the buffet table. Today, shrimp mold is mostly a retro curiosity, but for those who remember, it's a symbol of Southern hospitality at its most theatrical. Tomato gravy brought warmth and thrift to Southern breakfasts in the 1960s and 70s. This simple skillet sauce started with bacon or sausage fat left behind after frying, then a spoonful of flour to make a quick roux. Canned or fresh tomatoes joined next, simmering together until thick enough to spoon over hot biscuits, grits, or rice. For many families, tomato gravy was a way to stretch pantry staples and make every scrap count, especially on tight weeks. Home economics classes across the South taught the recipe as a practical skill, praising its ability to feed a crowd without fuss or fancy ingredients. The savory, tangy flavor turned plain biscuits into a meal, and the ritual of making gravy in the same skillet as the morning meat became tradition in countless kitchens. While it rarely appears on diner menus today, tomato gravy still lingers in memory as a taste of resourcefulness and Southern comfort, straight from the cast-iron pan. Red-eye gravy is the stuff of Southern breakfast legend, a sauce born from thrift, ritual, and a little bit of kitchen bravado. The recipe is almost too simple to believe, After frying up thick slices of country ham, the cook pours strong black coffee into the hot skillet, scraping up the browned bits left behind. The result is a thin, salty liquid with a slick of ham fat floating on top, forming a dark eye in the center, hence the name. Old-timers insisted this was the only proper way to wake up a plate of biscuits or grits, and many claimed you could judge a cook's skill by the clarity of their red eye. In the 1960s and 70s, red-eye gravy was a fixture at breakfast tables across the South, especially in rural kitchens where nothing went to waste. Today, it's a rare sight outside of heritage diners, but for those who remember, the sharp bite of coffee and the savor of ham grease still taste like home. Salmon croquettes turned a humble can into supper for a family, stretching budgets and filling plates across the South. Canned salmon, breadcrumbs or cracker crumbs, and an egg for binding. These were the basics, shaped into patties and fried until golden. Home economics teachers praised them for thrift and nutrition, making croquettes a staple in weeknight lesson plans and community cookbooks. In the 1960s and 70s, the rise of the canning industry meant salmon was affordable and always on hand, even far from the coast. A squeeze of lemon or a spoonful of tartar sauce was all it took to dress them up. For many, salmon croquettes meant a hot meal on a tight week, proof that resourcefulness could taste like comfort. As fresh seafood became more accessible, these crisp patties lost ground, but their story remains. A reminder of how Southern cooks made the most of every can and every dollar. Chitterlings, or chitlins, have long been a test of both skill and endurance in Southern kitchens. The process starts with careful cleaning. Yards of pork intestines washed and scrubbed, sometimes for hours, to remove every trace of grit. The smell is legendary and has sparked debate at many a family gathering, but for those who grew up with chitlins simmering on the stove, it's a scent tied to home and heritage. Served simply, often with vinegar and hot sauce, chitlins once stretched the family food budget and honored the tradition of using every part of the hog. Their story runs deep in African American Southern cooking, where resourcefulness and flavor walk hand in hand. In 1966, the town of Sally, South Carolina, turned this humble dish into a celebration with the first Chitlin Strut Festival. At its peak, the strut drew as many as 60,000 visitors, all gathering to share, debate, and defend a dish that outsiders might wrinkle their noses at, but insiders know as a badge of community and survival. Even as tastes have changed, chitlins remain a living link to the past, one that still brings crowds together every fall, ready for a plate of history and a story worth telling. Hogshead cheese, despite the name, isn't cheese at all. It's a savory terrine made from simmered pig head parts, set in a rich gelled broth. In Southern butcher shops, especially across Louisiana, this dish was a staple of the meat counter. The process began with boiling the head, picking the meat, and seasoning it with parsley, peppers, and vinegar. Once cooled, the mixture set into a firm loaf, sliceable for sandwiches or a cold snack. Some versions, called souse, leaned even more tangy, using extra vinegar and pickled vegetables for bite. Hogshead cheese was born out of thrift, making sure every usable part of the hog had a purpose. For many, a slice on a cracker or a lunch plate meant a taste of old-world resourcefulness. As industrial meatpacking took over and tastes changed, the sight of hogshead cheese behind the glass faded. But in pockets of the South, it still signals a connection to both tradition and ingenuity. Livermush is a breakfast tradition that's held on in the foothills of North Carolina, even as other awful dishes have faded. The recipe is simple but precise: pork liver and head meat, cooked down with spices, then blended with cornmeal to form a firm loaf. Sliced thick and fried until crisp on the edges, livermush lands on the plate beside eggs and grits, a staple at diners and home tables from Shelby to Marion. Unlike its softer cousin, liver pudding, livermush must contain at least 30% pork liver by law, a detail enforced by both the USDA and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. Only 5 family-run plants remain. Names like Niece's, Max, Jenkins, Hunter's, and Corahers, each inspected and licensed to keep this regional specialty safe and legal. These producers juggle tradition and regulation, double-testing every batch for safety while guarding recipes that go back generations. For many in western North Carolina, a hot slice of livermush isn't just breakfast. It's a badge of local pride, proof that some tastes are too rooted to disappear. Country Captain arrived on southern tables with a whiff of faraway spice and a story that traveled across oceans. This mild curried chicken stew, simmered with tomatoes and onions, found its home in Savannah's kitchens by the late 19th century. Community cookbooks and junior league collections from Georgia to the Carolinas helped the recipe spread, each version calling for chicken browned in butter, dusted with curry powder, and stewed with peppers, garlic, and sometimes a handful of golden raisins. The dish was always served over fluffy white rice, then finished with a scattering of toasted almonds, an unexpected garnish that signaled something special. For Sunday dinners and bridge luncheons, Country Captain offered a gentle adventure, just spicy enough to feel new, but still comforting and familiar. Its place in Southern food memory comes from the way it bridges worlds: British Indian flavors, low country rice, and the communal spirit of a dish meant to feed a crowd. Though it rarely appears outside old cookbooks today, Country Captain remains a quiet classic, remembered by those who grew up with its warm, aromatic promise. Jezebel sauce brought a spark of fun and surprise to Southern party tables, especially along the Gulf Coast. The recipe was pure pantry magic: apple jelly, pineapple preserves, sharp horseradish, and yellow mustard, all stirred together into a glossy, sweet hot sauce. Hostesses would spoon it over a brick of cream cheese, then set out a box of crackers. No need for fancy plating or last-minute fuss. The first bite was always a jolt, sugary and fruity at first, then a slow-building heat from the horseradish that made guests reach for another cracker. Community cookbooks from Mississippi to Alabama featured Jezebel sauce as the go-to for showers, bridge clubs, and holiday open houses. It was a dish that encouraged sharing, everyone crowding around the plate, laughing at the name, swapping stories about who first brought it to the party. For many, the memory of Jezebel sauce is tied to handwritten recipe cards and the cheerful chaos of Southern gatherings, a reminder that the best dishes don't always come from the oven. Even now, that sweet, tangy bite can transport you right back to a kitchen crowded with friends and the clatter of a well-loved party. 7-Up pound cake brought a new kind of sparkle to Southern dessert tables in the late 1960s. The secret ingredient was right in the name: a generous pour of 7-Up straight from the bottle, whisked into a simple batter of flour, butter, sugar, and eggs. The soda worked magic, lending a gentle citrus lift and a tender, airy crumb that set this cake apart from denser pound cakes of earlier decades. Bundt pans, with their sculpted ridges and dramatic shapes, were the vessel of choice, catching every golden edge and making the cake as much a feast for the eyes as for the taste buds. Recipe columns and branded pamphlets from 7-Up promoted the cake as both modern and foolproof, promising perfect results for home bakers of any skill level. The 7-Up pound cake quickly became a go-to for church socials, family reunions, and holiday spreads, earning its place as a lasting favorite. Even as scratch baking returned to fashion and soda pop cakes faded from the spotlight, the memory of that sweet, citrusy slice, moist, fragrant, and crowned with a simple glaze, still feels like celebration in a pan. Sock-it-to-me cake strutted onto Southern dessert tables in the late 1960s, blending the convenience of a boxed yellow cake mix with a swirl of cinnamon, brown sugar, and chopped pecans. The name borrowed its flair from a catchphrase made famous by the TV show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, giving the cake instant pop culture appeal. Home bakers loved the simplicity. Pour half the batter into a bundt pan. Scatter the spiced nut filling, then top with the rest and bake. Once cooled, a sweet glaze dripped down every ridge, catching the eye at potlucks and Sunday dinners alike. Recipes for sock-it-to-me cake appeared on the backs of Duncan Hines and Pillsbury cake mix boxes, promising foolproof results for even the busiest cook. The cake's rich swirl and buttery crumb made it a hit at church socials, where a clever name and a shortcut recipe could turn any baker into the star of the dessert table. Today, sock-it-to-me cake stands as a nostalgic tribute to the era when boxed mixes and bundt pans brought a little bit of showmanship and a whole lot of sweetness to Southern kitchens. Chicken bog stands out as the South Carolina crowd feeder with true staying power. This dish is all about generosity, whole chickens simmered with sausage, rice, and black pepper until everything melds into a savory, steamy bog. The texture is what sets it apart, not quite a stew, not quite a pilaf, but something in between, with every grain of rice slicked and plump from the broth. In the small town of Loris, chicken bog isn't just supper, it's a source of pride. Since 1980, the Loris Bog-Off Festival has drawn tens of thousands each October, all eager to sample contest pots and cheer on their favorite cooks. The rules are simple. Keep it classic, make enough to feed a crowd, and let the flavor speak for itself. Local teams stir their bog in huge cauldrons from early morning, hoping to win the judges' nod for best taste and perfect rice. The festival's roots are humble, born from the need to feed farmhands and neighbors with what was on hand. But its spirit is pure celebration. Today, the Bog-Off still brings out families and old friends, with live music, parades, and the smoky aroma of chicken and sausage drifting down Main Street. Chicken Bog's legacy is written in the size of the pots and the size of the crowd, a dish that never lost its place at the heart of community life. Coca-Cola cake stands at the summit of Southern nostalgia, a chocolate sheet cake that owes its deep flavor and tender crumb to a generous pour of cola, right in the batter and again in the glossy, fudge-like icing. The recipe first bubbled up in Southern newspaper food columns during the early 1970s, when soft drink companies were eager to see their brands in home kitchens as well as lunchboxes. Cake mix culture was in full swing, and Coca-Cola's name added a touch of fun and modernity to a classic chocolate cake. Home cooks clipped the recipe from local papers or found it in community cookbooks, where it quickly became a go-to for birthdays, church socials, and family reunions. The cake's appeal was twofold. The cola provided a subtle tang and extra moisture, while the ease of starting with a box mix made it accessible to bakers of any skill level. The story doesn't end with the 1970s. In the 1990s and 2000s, restaurants like Cracker Barrel revived Coca-Cola cake, serving it warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, sparking a new wave of nostalgia. For many, that first forkful is a direct line to childhood. Sticky fingers, laughter around the table, and the sweet, unmistakable taste of cola in every bite. Even as scratch baking and artisan desserts gained ground, Coca-Cola cake kept its place as the people's champion. Simple, crowd-pleasing, and proudly Southern. Its legacy is not just in the flavor, but in the memories it stirs. Proof that sometimes the most unforgettable dishes come from a box, a bottle, and a little bit of kitchen magic. From the humble lime-congealed salad to the iconic Coca-Cola cake, our countdown has uncovered 25 forgotten homely Southern dishes that once defined comfort and community across the region. The most surprising entries, like shrimp mold, tomato aspic, and chitterlings, remind us just how creative and resourceful Southern cooks were, especially when faced with limited ingredients or a need to feed a crowd. A clear pattern emerges: convenience, community cookbooks, and clever use of canned goods, boxed mixes, and even sodas shaped what ended up on the table. These dishes reflect a time when potlucks, church socials, and family traditions prioritized practicality, thrift, and togetherness. While health trends and changing tastes pushed many of these classics aside, their stories reveal the deep ties between food and identity in the South. In every entry, we see how nostalgia and innovation blended to create flavors uniquely tied to a place and era. Ultimately, these dishes aren't just recipes, they are edible time capsules, preserving the history of Southern kitchens one quirky, heartfelt bite at a time.